Hello, everybody. John Mitchell here from johnamitchell.tv, and happy to be back with you. I'm glad thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to go ahead and watch my videos. Um, there's this story that I have here today. This is going to be a pretty short video. There's not much analysis of this needed on my part. I've been meaning to talk about this for a while now. It kind of bugged me when this came out, and I recently ran across some updates to the original story, and I just found it interesting, and I thought I should bring this up here on the channel. I've got here the one of the updates. Yeah, I think everybody can see that. It says Alabama cop arrested for takedown that left Indian man partially paralyzed. Now, as I record this, it's January of 2016. So happy New Year's to everybody. And this original story took place actually about 11 or so months ago in February of 2015. And it turns out, there's this gentleman named, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, I don't think I am, but it's Sureshbhai Patel. The Patel part I know I'm going to get right, so I'll just call the guy Mr. Patel. Mr. Patel was a kind of elderly guy, about 57 years old, from India. Did not speak English, does not speak English. He speaks Hindi, I think it is. And he had gone to visit his son and his daughter-in-law in Madison, a town named Madison, Alabama. And he had been there about a week. He was there helping take care of the toddler, because turns out that Mr. Patel's son, Patel Jr., was working as an engineer, and also going to the University of Alabama doing some graduate work. So you can see what kind of level of people, what kind of family we're talking about here. And so they live in a nice, nice upper middle class neighborhood in Madison, Alabama. And it turns out that Mr. Patel, I know this must seem foreign to a lot of Americans out there, but Mr. Patel enjoys, going out for walks around the neighborhood. So turns out that one morning in February, about 9 a.m., and I mentioned this because it's important. And think about this: 9 o'clock in the morning, and Mr. Patel decides to, leave the house and go out and just walk around the neighborhood. It's a healthy thing to go out for a walk. So Mr. Patel's out walking, and the police there in Madison get a 911 call. Because 911 is for emergencies, and it's obviously an emergency to have a I guess brown-skinned man walking around your neighborhood. And so they did get this 911 call, which you can find online. The police have released this recording, and one of the neighbors had called in and said that there was quote, a suspicious looking black guy, a skinny black guy, quote unquote, lurking around the neighborhood. And so, the police dispatched a patrol car with an officer by the name of Eric Parker. Now, Mr. Eric Parker, Officer Eric Parker, one of our fine heroes in blue, responded to the scene. It's a dangerous scene here, because there's a skinny black guy lurking around a neighborhood. So, Eric Parker shows up, and he confronts Mr. Patel. Which first of all, there are many, probably a dozen different things I could say about that. Why are you even stopping and questioning? Did he even have any kind of probable cause to to think a crime had been committed? First of all, should he have even been stopping Mr. Patel at all? But he goes and confronts Mr. Patel. But problem is, like I mentioned before, good old Mr. Patel, he does not speak English. He just got, just flew in from India about a week before, and so Officer, Eric Parker begins to try and question Mr. Patel, and there's a, language barrier. And he's got another officer with him. I don't remember the guy's name, but it's two cops on one unarmed, 57-year-old Indian guy. And so because they were unable to I guess communicate with him, they ended up restraining him, holding his hands behind his back, and apparently the guy had once or twice tried to walk away because they were asking him where he lived, and so he was pointing down toward the end of the street, and he tried to walk off that direction. They were telling him, "Don't walk away from us, don't walk away from us." Well, eventually they ended up body slamming Mr. Patel, holding his hands behind his back, body slam him face first into the pavement there on the concrete on the sidewalk. And the problem is that this was a very violent takedown method. And there is a video of this dash cam video, by the way, which has also been released by the police. And just Google any of these people's names. Alabama, Indian guy paralyzed. It comes right up on Google. I've searched for it on Google 2 or 3 different ways, and it's always right there in the first page of results. And so you can click on it's like a 3 minute or so video, and I admittedly I'm not a cop, okay, but I cannot tell that this guy is doing anything to pose anyone any kind of threat, and basically just taking a walk through the neighborhood. But there was something suspicious about Mr. Patel. I would propose to people out there that maybe the suspicious thing about Mr. Patel was his brown skin. We've all heard of driving while black, and so I'm going to propose to you that Mr. Patel was suspicious because he was walking while brown, and so I'm going to get hateful comments because of this, but I'm going to tell you, just listen to the 911 call, which also can be found online. The 911 caller called in and said that he was, he wasn't leaving for work because he was scared to leave his wife alone there in the neighborhood because there is, quote, a skinny black guy lurking around the neighborhood. And so anyway, happy ending. There's one not quite an ending, but things are not turning out so bad actually. Turns out that Officer Eric Parker has been fired and was fired many months ago actually. Since the recording of this, it's been months ago. Officer Parker was fired from the city police department and brought up on charges, state charges, which admittedly a misdemeanor assault charge, which he posted. He went down to the county jail and posted $1,000 bond. But then, interestingly enough, the FBI got involved and brought federal felony charges against Officer Parker, and he has been apparently through one trial, which perhaps. I believe I read ended in a hung jury, and the feds intend to pursue the matter further and keep after this prosecution. And kudos to the people involved. Actually, kudos to the police chief for taking a tough disciplinary stance and firing this guy. You don't want this guy out there with a taser and a gun and a badge, out terrorizing the public like this. We give these police officers lots of authority, and the state basically has a monopoly on the aggressive use of force like this. Check me if I'm wrong on this, okay? But police officers are supposed to use force only as necessary, and it's supposed to be primarily for the protection of themselves or protection of another. That's it in a nutshell. So the cops can body slam you if you are posing a threat. If you're not posing a threat, then they're supposed to gain your compliance by less drastic measures. Okay, so I'm not a police officer, but I am an attorney, and I don't do criminal law. But this is pretty basic stuff here. So anyways, the other thing is that the guy was unfortunately, Mr. Patel, partially paralyzed in the hospital, and they did raise about $200,000 last I saw for the guy on GoFundMe.com. To help take care of medical bills, and there is apparently a lawsuit pending against the city authorities, which good on them for that too. So anyways, if I find any more interesting information about this, I'll go ahead and make a follow-up video. But I guess all's well that ends well. So well, not I can't really say that. So what I'll say is so far so good. Okay, at least in this one case, there at least seems to be some kind of a consequence for good old Eric Parker, Officer Parker, ex-Officer Parker. I don't know what he's doing now. Maybe maybe a nighttime unarmed security guard at Home Depot or something. We can only hope. So, in any event, your comments are welcome, and thanks everybody for watching. And till next time, I will catch you later.